How you doing out there? Yours truly, Chris Motep. I want to say Happy New Year and welcome back. It's been such a long time, but we're here again, and we're here to thrill and to inform you. Obviously, some sad news. We lost the great Albert Griffiths from the Gladiators fame on the 15th of December 2020, which is just a few weeks ago. Uh, he passed away via Parkinson's disease at his home in Manchester, St Elizabeth, uh, at the age of 74. He was only a couple of weeks short of his 75th birthday. He was born the 1st of January 1946 in St Elizabeth, but he grew up in Kingston, and that's where he formed the Gladiators in around 1968. He said that he formed the Gladiators of a man called David Rebber and Gilmore Sutherland, the initial Gladiators, and then afterwards in the 70s came the likes of Clinton Farron, who came and joined the group in the 1970s. And so there you have it. The Gladiators were now a trio, well, of course, Albert Griffiths, Clinton Farron, and Gilmore Sutherland as well. David Webber was one of the founding members, but he left the group early in the 70s. And they recorded at Studio One in the late 60s. One of the very first reggae songs, apparently, was their number from 1968 called Hello Carol, which is, of course, helped by the invention of the late and great Larry Marshall, who gave Albert Griffiths and the rest of the Gladiators the incentive to call the song Hello Carol, because originally the song was going to be called Hello Sonia. Jacob Miller had given some input when he was at Studio One in that session as well, but they went with Hello Carol and it became a big seller for the trio in 1968. They recorded a number of songs at Studio One, the Gladiators, with Albert Griffiths leading the band as well. And some of the songs were Judge Will Go Before Us, which was recorded in the early 70s, and Mr. Baldwin, which is, of course, another version of the great Cultures classic, Stop the Fussing and Fighting in 1978. But they did Mr. Baldwin just after around that time. But I think the original was done, of course, by Culture for Sonia Pottinger, the classic anthem, Stop the Fussing and Fighting. And they've done a number of other songs. And they were one of the first groups to be formed, one of the first bands to be signed, I should say, to Virgin Records in around 1975. Incidentally, the Gladiators had two stints at Studio One in the early 60s, and in the late 70s. And in between, they recorded for a floor of producers, and of course, most notably, Prince Tony Robinson, and that's where they signed to the major Virgin Records in 1975, and thus becoming one of the very first Jamaican acts to actually be signed to Virgin Records. And the first album was a classic, was a big seller. Trench Town Mix-Up was a big seller in 1975, 1976. And it was around the time that Albert Griffiths, alongside the Gladiators, recorded that Chestnut from the Wailers. Soul Rebel, of course, that was one of Bob Marley and the Wailers, or the Wailers, anthems. So many anthems of the Wailers, but that was one of the big ones. And then when the Gladiators took it and covered it, it went worldwide. It was and then Uroy did a wonderful piece over it, a wonderful DJ piece, wonderful DJ toasting piece over it, called Natty Rebel. Classic numbers. I mean, the Gladiators toured four corners of the globe. They toured the Far East, they toured Europe, they toured America, they toured South America, and as well as the Caribbean as well. They were touring for at least 30 or so years, and then unfortunately, in 2006, Albert Griffiths took ill, and he was no longer able to actually tour again. Even the other Gladiators to actually tour without him, and he was no longer able to tour. He was so sick that he had to cancel touring for 14 years until his death of last year. He passed away at his home in St Elizabeth, as I mentioned, Manchester, and he was being looked after by family members and professional carers as well, nurses who were going to and from his house to look after him. And there was talk of a comeback a few years ago, but unfortunately he was too sick to come back, and as a result, it never really transpired, and unfortunately he's now passed away. But his legacy lives on. We lost a lot of legends last year. We've always lost legends, but last year was a big year for many legends. You know, we did Toots. Well, we lost Toots, we lost Little Richard, we lost Betty Wright, Bob Andy, the list is endless. Judith Farrell, Skender, Naga Morris, you know, Bobby Digital. I've done many of them on here. Minnie Smalls, Dobby Dobson. The list is just totally endless of how many legends have passed away. Not just in reggae music, but in music in general. We lost Kenny Rogers as well, the country legend as well. And so many legends have passed away and singers. Also, we lost Charlie Pride as well. I almost forgot Charlie Pride. We lost Charlie Pride towards the end of last year as well. I think we also lost him just before Albert Griffiths passed away last year. And so, brothers and sisters, I say out there to take care of yourselves, look after yourselves, love one another, and just try your very best to, you know, just to keep safe in this time. Albert Griffiths has left a wonderful legacy. His songs will live on forever. The Gladiators tunes from the 60s to now, and even some songs which were released. Cox Sondod, he said he recorded a number of songs for Cox Sondod in the 60s at Studio One, which wasn't released. And possibly now, some of those songs were done that weren't released. You might hear them now. And so we'll come in here and let you know. We'll follow us on social media on Facebook, Chris B. Bailey. You can follow me on Instagram, Chris B. Emotep 444. As well, don't forget to subscribe to our channel here at Chris B. Emotep for new videos. We're always going to be posting videos. Once again, we send our sincere apologies for not posting for 3 months. We had problems with our equipment to replace the phone and the laptop, costing me hundreds of pounds. But I'm so happy to be here again to really minister to you and to inform you about what's going on and to give my input as well. So once again, you take care of yourselves and each other, and we say love and strength to all the Griffiths family, or Albert Griffiths' family and members, sons, children, offspring, loved ones, relatives, and close friends and associates, and fans around the world. Because it's the fans that buy the records and help to put money in the artist's pocket and to help the artist to live and to keep sustaining themselves. So I say thank you so much. Peace and blessings. Honor. One love.